I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this. But here I am, staring at the truth I never wanted to see. My wife, Lisa, has always been the kind of woman who can be charming, bitchy, and downright cruel all in the same breath. We've been together for 8 years, married for 5. On the surface, everything looked fine, normal routines, occasional arguments, the usual ups and downs. I always believed we had a solid relationship, or at least I did until recently. It started subtly. Lisa's been acting distant lately, more than usual. She'd come home late from work meetings, always with some lame excuse about clients or brainstorming sessions. She'd brush off my questions, say I was paranoid or jealous. But I'm not stupid. I noticed her phone constantly ringing, her sneaking looks at her screen when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd say I was imagining things, that I was paranoid because I was insecure. I'd even caught her deleting texts, but I never saw anything concrete. Then came the weekend I found out for real. I'd been working late on a project, and the security cameras in our building had recently been upgraded. I figured I'd check the footage just to see what Lisa was up to, maybe get some peace of mind. I never expected what I was about to see. I pulled up the footage from Saturday night and I was stunned. There they were, Lisa and her boss, Tom, sneaking into his office after hours. Not just a quick visit. No, they stayed for hours. Entering together, leaving together, multiple weekends in a row. The footage clearly showed her going into his office around 7 p.m., staying until 11 or midnight. And I saw her kissing him more than once, right there in his office. I couldn't breathe. My stomach dropped. I played the footage over and over again, trying to convince myself it was a mistake, but it was. It was absolutely real. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was cheating on me with my own mentor, someone I looked up to, someone I trusted to help me grow my business. That was the moment everything changed. The foundation of my world cracked wide open, and I had no idea how I was going to fix it or if I even wanted to anymore. The shock hit me like a punch in the gut, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I felt numb, frozen in place as I replayed the footage a dozen times, trying to process how Lisa could do this, how she could betray me so blatantly. Tom, my mentor, someone I'd always thought of as a father figure, someone who helped shape my career, who I trusted to give me real advice about life and business. And now, he's the guy she's sneaking around with. It didn't make any sense, but the evidence was right there, clear as day. I couldn't keep this to myself. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache, but I knew I had to confront her. I waited until she left for work, then I sat in our living room and watched the footage again. I felt like I was going to throw up. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what I was going to say, how I was going to handle this. When Lisa got home that evening, I could barely look at her. She brushed past me, acting like everything was normal, like I wasn't sitting there with the footage. Burning a hole in my brain, I finally snapped. I told her I knew what she was doing, shown her the videos. Her face twisted into one of her bitchy smirks, and she looked at me like I was some idiot who just didn't get it. "Oh, so what if I was seeing Tom? It's none of your damn business," she spat. "You're just jealous because I still look good and you're boring as hell. Maybe I need someone who actually satisfies me. And Tom, he's got that spark I need." I was stunned. I couldn't believe her words. She lied so easily, like the truth was just some insignificant detail she could brush off. She kept telling me I was overreacting, that I was insecure, that I was imagining things. But the footage didn't lie. I saw her kiss him, hold his hand, stay late in his office while I worked late myself. There was no denying it anymore. She'd been lying to me for months, pretending everything was fine when she was out screwing around with my so-called mentor. It cut deep, more than I thought possible. That night after she went to bed, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I'd been hit by a train. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it earlier, how I could have missed all the signs. I felt betrayed, humiliated, angry, so much anger that I wanted to smash something. But mostly I just felt this crushing sadness. I'd invested so much into this marriage, into her, and it was all a lie. The woman I thought I knew had been cheating on me right under my nose, and I was only just beginning to realize how deep the rabbit hole went. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Every time I looked at Lisa, I saw her differently. Her sneaky little smirks, the way she tried to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. The worst part was that she kept lying, denying everything even when I had hard proof. She'd call me paranoid, accuse me of spying, say I was just jealous because Tom was better looking or had more success. That made me feel even more rage, how she could lie so effortlessly, so bitchily, without a shred of remorse. I started to dig deeper, trying to find more evidence, more proof of her secret meetings. I couldn't believe I'd missed all of it for so long. I checked the security footage again, looked at her phone records, even caught her in a tiny lie about where she'd been Saturday night. It all added up. She'd been sneaking around, lying to my face, while I worked my ass off trying to build our life together. One night, I decided I'd had enough of her bullshit. I waited until she was drunk on wine, and then I confronted her head-on. I brought her into the living room, put the footage on the big screen, and told her exactly what I knew. Her reaction: she scoffed, rolled her eyes, and called me possessive. She said, "Oh please, you think I'm going to sit here and feel guilty? Tom's a better lover, better in bed, better at everything. Maybe you're just too boring for me." That bitchy tone she threw in there made my blood boil. She was so confident, so bitchy, like she owned the situation. I looked at her and thought about everything we'd been through, our wedding, our plans, all the little moments I foolishly believed were real. I felt a pang of heartbreak mixed with pure rage. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her see how much she'd hurt me. But all I could do was stand there, seething, knowing I'd just uncovered a betrayal that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I felt like I was losing my mind, like she'd turned into some wicked stranger, someone I didn't even recognize anymore. The days that followed were worse. I became a ghost in my own house, caught between rage and despair. Lisa kept up her act, acting like she'd done nothing wrong, throwing her bitchy attitude around like it was some kind of shield. She'd sass me, call me insecure, say I was overreacting. Honestly, I wanted to hit her, but instead I just bottled everything up, trying to keep my cool while inside I was boiling over. One night, I decided I'd had enough of her bullshit. I went through her phone late at night while she was passed out drunk on the couch. I needed to understand just how deep her lies went, how far she was willing to go. And what I found was even worse: text messages from Tom, explicit and dirty, talking about how she loved the feeling of being wanted. There were pictures, too, not just of her in casual clothes, but pictures of her in lingerie, half naked, sent specifically to him. She'd been planning this, hiding it from me. I couldn't believe she'd do this to me. After everything, she was still lying, still cheating behind my back, even as I was trying to trust her. That was when I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I had to do something. I sat there, trembling with anger, thinking about how I was going to confront her again, how to make her see what she'd done. I felt my fists clench, my jaw tight, and I realized I was on the brink of losing my mind. The woman I loved, or thought I loved, had become a complete stranger, one who was willing to humiliate me, betray me, and lie her way out of it. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I knew I couldn't just let her get away with it. I had to make her see the damage she'd caused, force her to face the consequences of her actions. I decided I'd catch her again, but this time I'd be the one in control. I'd set the trap, and I'd make sure she paid for her lies, because enough was enough. I was done being the fool. I deserved better, and she was going to learn that the hard way. I spent the next few days planning my move. I knew I had to catch her red-handed again, but this time with concrete evidence that she couldn't deny. I started by installing a few more cameras around the house, just in case she got sneaky enough to hide her tracks. I also kept a close eye on her phone, her schedule, everything I could get my hands on. I was determined to expose her once and for all. Then one evening she went out to meet a friend, or so she said. I followed her from a distance, keeping my cool. She went straight to Tom's office building, just like on the footage I'd seen before. I parked a few blocks away and watched her walk inside. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, but I knew I had to see it with my own eyes. No more doubts, no more lies. Around 9 p.m. I saw her again, she and Tom entering together. This time I recorded her on my phone, getting every detail. I felt my blood boil every second. I knew I had enough to destroy her to end this charade. When she finally came out around midnight, she looked exhausted, like she'd just finished her secret rendezvous. I followed her back to the house, heart pounding, knowing I was about to confront her with the proof. The moment was coming. I waited until she was asleep, then I quietly played the recordings. Watching her in that moment, I felt a mix of heartbreak and fury. I finally saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, lying bitch who didn't care about our marriage, only her own selfish pleasures. I could barely breathe as I realized I was done. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about respect, trust, and survival. I knew I had to make a choice, whether to fight for what was left or cut my losses and walk away. That night, I sat there, staring at the footage on my phone, feeling the weight of everything crashing down on me. The woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, she was gone, replaced by this cold, manipulative person who had no regard for me or our life together. I felt hollow, exhausted, like I'd been through a war. The betrayal had cut so deep I wasn't sure how to pick up the pieces. All I knew was that I couldn't stay with her anymore, not after what I'd seen, what I'd uncovered. The morning after, I confronted her. I told her I knew everything, the secret meetings, the texts, the nights at Tom's office. She looked surprised, then furious, then bitchy as she tried to deny it all. But I had the evidence and I wasn't about to be gaslit again. I told her I wanted her gone, that I couldn't trust her anymore, that she had destroyed whatever was left of our marriage with her lies and her selfishness. She threw a fit, calling me insecure, controlling, jealous, trying to paint herself as the victim. But I wasn't buying it. I packed her bags myself while she was screaming at me, calling me names. I handed her the keys and told her to take whatever she wanted, and not to come back, that I was done. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I finally saw her true face. Sadness because I'd lost the woman I once loved, the woman I'd built a life with. Since then, I've been healing, though it's been tough. I've learned a lot about trust, betrayal, and how sometimes people hide who they really are behind a charming smile. I don't regret catching her. It's opened my eyes to how toxic some relationships can be, and how important it is to trust your instincts before it's too late. I've started rebuilding my life, stronger and wiser, and I'll never let anyone betray me like that again. This experience taught me that sometimes you have to fight to protect yourself, even if it means losing someone you thought was your whole world.